Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as it's printed? Crystal Lee and Wenda, any discussion? All in favor? That's carried, thank you. Any conflicts of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? None declared. The minutes from our March 4th, 2024 meeting. Can I get a motion to adopt those minutes? Wendy and Doug, anything arising from those minutes that you want to bring up? All in favor then? Thank you. And we had a meeting, a public meeting regarding a zoning bylaw amendment on March 4th. Can I get a motion to adopt those minutes? Crystal Lee and Wendy, any discussion? None? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We have 3 delegations this evening. The first one is from Nathan Bruce at 414 Dewey Road. Nathan, do you want to come up to the microphone there? If you press the silver button, it should activate a red light indicating it's functional. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you hear me? Thank you, Council, Your Honor. I'm here tonight representing my family, our family property at 414 A to Z Dewey Road. We've been property owners down in that area for about 40 years. And recently, my immediate family has started to proceed through a development process to build a dwelling on our lot of record. And through that development process, we had some questions, and we're speaking with Mr. Sands and Mr. Thompson about what would it look like going forward for that nature of that road, given the current pressure that's there, the land users, and the future, and what that would look like. With that in mind, we had some ideas that we wanted to bring forward to council regarding those questions. And as you see, included in your agenda is a summary document of some of the stuff that we were thinking about and seeking limited winter maintenance request. And basically, the opportunity to review that idea and explain some of the benefits to adopting that for our cottage roadway. So we think that proceeding with a limited maintenance request would be fiscally responsible, reasonable, and a benefit to all parties in our area, including many of the land users that are adjacent and nearby that use the road. So the second slide, the few slides to append to the summary here tonight for you. First slide just kind of shows where the roadway is. So it leads off of Dewey Road just before the hill. This is our entrance. It's on the north side of Vardy. So it leads down into the northwest shore of Vardy Lake. It's about 2.5 kilometers, almost 3 kilometers long down in there. The roadway is currently seasonally maintained, and it's just wider than your average vehicle. So the next slide, the roadway itself has been actively used in the community for well over 100 years. It appears on a lot of the old maps. It's currently fully serviced from Hydro, and it provides egress to 12 civic address properties that feature year-round residential, seasonal, some RVs, as well as a solar farm, and most recently a communications tower. The defining qualities of this road make it unlike other, what you would say, cottage lanes or private cottage lanes, in that it's publicly owned, it's on a municipal road allowance, it's assumed through the expenditure of public funds well before 2003. and it's had approved developments fronting it for several lots. The length of it and its servicing alone are two unique qualities. So it's quite a long seasonally maintained laneway, something that is not very often seen. And historically, it was used as part of the route from Camden East north to Desmond. And it was critical in the 2001 wildfire that was in that area that burned up 400 or 500 acres of land. And the next slide just demonstrates the historic map that shows the location, if you're not familiar with that. And the context on the outside edge there just speaks to road allowances and their existence and how that relates to the Municipal Act. Next slide shows more recent development there, the I believe Rogers Tower, which is directly off the laneway itself, or the roadway. And just exemplifies some of the development that we've had. The next slide is the zoning. So this is just a snippet of the area. In the left-hand corner is what's shown. It's labeled Christian and Sage Lane. Those are unofficial names. Currently, it's officially known as 414 A to Z. You can see down the bottom corner of the laneway is the seasonal residential properties that were zoned originally seasonal residential and now are RLS, as according to the newer, more modern bylaw. The zoning for that area is kind of unique in itself, where it has seasonal at the end of a seasonally maintained road, and there's only a couple other examples of where that looks like that. I think in the North Shore, Beaver Lake, there might be a few lots off Donahue Road. To give you an idea of how this would relate to, other areas, it's kind of unique in that sense. So for the next slide, I just wanted to explain a little bit about MMS classes. So if you're not familiar with that, all roads in Ontario through Municipal Act are governed by the minimum maintenance standards, MMS. These are a classification of the roads based on their usage, predominantly traffic patterns, and they're classed 1 from 5, and those stipulate the different types of service and the servicing that they get and the quality or the type of the road that they are. So for class 6 roads, those regulations don't apply. Municipalities can adopt their own standards to govern those roadways, more or less just in a way to offer service for roads that are outside of, we'll say, the urbanized or township level of main road, which is common for rural Ontario and not so common for, the big centers like the GTA. So according to your roads recent roads assessment, Stone Mills Township is approximately 34% class 6 roads. So is about a third of what you have is class 6. So for class 6 roads, as I said, that service level doesn't necessarily apply as per the Municipal Act. Municipalities can choose what they want to do for that type of road. A lot of municipalities go forward with a policy that subdivides that class 6 into a representative listing of the road types that they have. So in a more northern area, you might have a lot of forest access or crown roads and some seasonally maintained cottage roads and some private roads. And each of those subclasses gets some type of service dedicated to it to help govern and manage it for the roads department. In our idea to go forward with Dewey Road, we're suggesting that the township adopt a class 6 policy that explains servicing on all of those roads. and kind of subcategorizes them according to what you're already currently doing. In this instance, the idea here is that you would include a limited winter service class, and that's quite unique. It does appear in a number of municipalities, but here in Stone Mills, it's currently not part of the policy or the maintenance levels. The exemplary policy language below takes a snippet from a couple of different municipalities on how they react to work on a Class 6 road throughout the winter. And it's basically just a reasonable request basis for plowing a limited number of times per year over the winter period. So you can see it says request dealt with on a reasonable request, or that it's governed by potentially duration or timing after a major snowfall, where when crews are available and the equipment's there, then they could do it and just kind of keep the road more or less a groomed snow-packed trail, aside from leaving it to build up over the winter period. So Class 6 roads are not regulated in the sense that you have to abide by that under the Municipal Act. It's just your own, basically, municipal policy. And with that, Class 6 classification would keep the state of repair in reasonable given the circumstance. And that just means that ownership, property owners around that road are recognized that it's according to the usage. So you don't necessarily need to have a full traveled road like a county road or full township road, but the sense that it's reasonable given the circumstances for egress patterns and usage. So by adopting a policy like this and a subcategorization that would include limited winter maintenance, there are a number of benefits to the community. I know there would be opposing arguments that would suggest the cost of this would be too great to do, but I think if we look at the benefits and some of the circumstances that are there, that might be that argument might be irrelevant. Potentially, from the cost perspective, this would be limited to only a number of times per year. You may be able to use existing equipment and not necessarily, we're not necessarily suggesting you could take a gigantic plow truck and get down there, but maybe you have a blower or a 1-ton truck or something like that that would suffice in the instances where it's needed. Or potentially it would align with some other future maintenance program that it would allow or permit those appliances or those equipment to be used there in the same situation. So the other thing is it changing the nature of the road, and that's not our intent. The road is used and somewhat maintained in the winter periods already. This would just be a recognition officially from the municipality that you've got a response to servicing with your own vehicles, your own staff, and to your own standards that are transparent and clear for everybody to understand. So if we look at some of the benefits to the community at large, it's desired oversight, reduce risk, and improve safety to access. It eliminates confusion regarding services, constitutes the state of maintenance given the circumstance and expectation of reasonableness, and supports the current property access needs and potential for the future. Just to exemplify that, if people are permitted for development down there and they can build homes or houses or cottages or whatever you want to call it, they still have to have insurance on those dwellings, and you still have to keep up with some type of, whether or not it's seasonal access, you still have to keep up with some type of reasonable oversight of that property and those buildings to keep your insurance valid. So that's just one example of having, better access or improved access. Benefits to the community for the township itself. This would introduce policy clarity with service expectations and explain different roads across the board. It would be fiscally responsible improvement with limited expenditure. So by doing this here, we're proposing that the certain qualities of this road and only the ones that are like it would potentially receive that type of maintenance treatment. This isn't for every road. It would only be to the standards set by the municipality, given the circumstances. And this growth or improvement means a recognition for the evolution in servicing. And that's something that you would help future development on this road or any other road for folks to realize what they have if they purchase property or if they go to develop property. This is the steps that you need to look into to go forward with that and have improved access. And then finally, for asset management, in planning, prospective developers would benefit from enhanced clarity of information, as well as it would potentially assist with your own future planning and budgeting. So I appreciate the time to give you some of this information about the idea that we have in our proposal, in an attempt basically to improve access to our area and also help out the community by large. So thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Any questions for Mr. Bruce or comments at this point? Can I get a motion to receive the delegation? Wendy and Doug? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our second delegation this evening is from Dennis Mahoney regarding maintenance on Brady Road. Dennis, if you just press that silver button, that will activate the mic and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Yeah, appreciate you allowing me to come in here and speak to you, voice my concerns. Yeah, basically I'm on Brady Road. We built a house there about 22 years ago. I'm fourth generation on the road, so I've got lots of exposure over the years being on the road. About 7 years ago, I would say, roughly, things kind of changed, and I haven't seen the machine myself, but I've seen what it leaves behind. And it basically comes in and splinters all the trees. And that's fine if you want to clean ditches. There's lots of, underlying small shrubs, brushes, thorny. I take no exception with that at all. What I can't figure out, and I'm not the smartest guy, but I can't figure out how they determine what should be ground to splinters and what's left. So there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. I did send some pictures in. That picture is just Brady Road, and you can see the ditches aren't super well defined, but there is lots of low-lying brush along Brady Road that could be cleaned up. I have some other pictures though of what is left behind. And John, it seems to be random. That was right at my property. That was done about 3 years ago. About every 3 years, this machine comes by and just seems to be indiscriminate. And that was in 2021. I took that picture. There's other photos that just happened in the last little while. You can see mature trees just ground to splinters. So that was 20 feet up in the air. A tree is ground like it. Again, it doesn't make any sense to me. What I've tried to engage with the office without any luck. And so I don't know if this is even the right forum, but I appreciate the opportunity to at least come in and voice my concerns. All I've ever asked for is some training. So you're giving the keys to somebody. This machine, I can't imagine what it looks like, but all I've asked for is some training and some direction to the operator. Just clean the ditches, but maybe not ravage the mature trees. Even if they were to cut down and gone altogether, I'm not here to save the trees. My greatest fear is that I come home one night from work and my entire road has been ravaged. That's all. So I don't know what resolution looks like, but I just wanted to voice my concerns.
Thanks, Dennis. Any questions for? Yes, Wendy, go ahead.
Could we just have Jeff Thompson speak to this? Because I think he knows the equipment that's being referred to here.
Jeff, do you want to talk about that brushing instrument? I'm not sure what you actually call that thing on the end of that long arm and what the procedures are supposed to be.
Yeah, so I don't know there's a particular question that you want me to answer, but Dennis, how are you?
Good.
We spoke in 2021, just before Christmas, and
Yeah.
I think we had email correspondence back and forth January, February.
January,
And that
yeah.
was the last time we spoke.
Yeah.
So this year we, and that's when we cut in 2021 was Brady Road with our tractors and arms. So we have a new machine with on the hoe, which reaches higher heights.
Yeah,
And a lot of these areas are, it's hitting the buses and any heavier equipment or any taller equipment. So we get complaints. So that one was probably hanging over and the buses were hitting it. And the other location that we cut this year was Brady and Airport, and it was daylighting the stop sign. You couldn't see the stop sign. So
Yeah.
this is a normal practice all over Ontario, Eastern Ontario. We've cut well over 40, 50 kilometers this year with no complaints.
it does seem to be random, Jeff.
Yeah.
It appears to be random. The mature trees I've seen, you know, where there
And I know in
there's
20,
the odd tree that's canopying over. But you know, the one that was ground there was no worse than the one beside it. Like I'm on this road every day.
in our conversation in 2021, you want me to promise that we wouldn't do it again, and I wouldn't
No, no.
promise that.
No, actually, I wanted to have a discussion about it, and I wanted assurances really that there'd be training and some direction.
Our
given to the
operators are
operator.
well trained.
Okay. So
Any other questions for me?
Any more questions? Or Jeff or Dennis? Well, I share your concern to a certain extent, Dennis, in terms of the aesthetics. I know it's very efficient. Before, what we did was we had people with chainsaws and maybe just the regular rotary mowers in the ditches. But this thing leaves a very ugly scar on every road that it's used on. And it seems to me, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, that when we first started using these types of machines, there was a follow-up to cut stubs, like ragged stubs and maybe ragged stumps and things like that. Does that still happen, or did we ever do that? And it's just my imagination that's playing me tricks here.
There was conversation about, especially the red cedars, they do stringy leave it, but the new machine we have, it actually can grind it right down. We've been on Freeman Road for the last week probably, and it mulches it down really fine.
But the higher branches just stay like that one in that picture. That's
Yeah, and that we would have to hire a boom truck to clean that stump off.
like,
Yeah.
I understand the economics of it. I don't think the township has the manpower to go back and clean up. I guess my first picture of Brady Road, that based on some of the decisions that were made to grind certain, you know, to deal with certain trees. The other one actually, Randy, the first one where it just shows the road. Based on some of the decisions that are made by the operator, you could make a case for every single tree being ground down, or at least the you know, they would just leave the top 3 or 4 or the bottom 3 or 4 feet of it. So that's kind of my concern. And there are lots of things in the ditches that make sense to clean. I'm not opposed to this. I'm just trying to sort out if, you know, if there's a way to make sure that we don't ravage the neighborhood, because I have to live there. So.
Yeah, and I understand that. So I guess to Jeff then, once the machine has gone through there, is there any sort of follow-up inspection, like do you or Ian or somebody go along afterwards and make sure that it's done to your satisfaction, or how does that happen? What are the procedures?
Yeah, so this year we have the 2 lead hands that I've been working with and we had a brush crew coming behind um, on most of them, just to take the bigger trees that the machine couldn't take, anything that's 8-10 inches in diameter. They would cut it and leave the wood for the landowners. But in this case, they cut around the intersection, around the stop sign, and they never had a chainsaw crew go behind them. But typically when we're on Rogers Road, Breen Road, we had a crew following, taking out the bigger trees.
Yeah,
And that's either Ian or the lead hand. I don't get out much anymore.
right. Yeah, you're chained to your desk. Okay, anything further from council? Well, I'm not going to make a motion, but I think just for appearances, it would be nice if these things were ground down as much as they could be, because there are some stumps and things that can look pretty ugly. And that any stubs that are accessible, you know, for some of the chainsaw can be trimmed back. It's just, I think it's just nicer for all of us when we drive down these roads. That's just an opinion, but I'll leave it at that. Yes, go ahead, Doug.
I think we should clarify though, the pictures, and I was talked to you 3 years ago too. The machine that was used 3 years ago is not the machine that is used, the new machines used today. It left just exactly as was said. It left a straggly 3-4 foot mess, the old machine. It didn't break it down to the ground. But this machine, I watched it work the other day, and it's the first I'd ever seen it work. They can go right to ground level. The only problem is rocks.
The problem with Brady Road
Yeah.
is because if you have a lot of long-standing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a long-term land holders. The old rail fences are quite close to the road. I think as properties change hands over the years, the township claims an additional portion, I believe. So you have these old rail fences and they're grinding, you would be grinding to the rail fence. You're not able to go to the ground if you do what is often done. I think the ditch should be ground down where it can go all the way to the ground. Where trees are along the fence line, I think they should be left. That's my personal opinion. So,
Anything further? Thank you, Dennis.
okay. Thanks a lot. Appreciate your time.
Can I get a motion to receive Mr. Mahoney's delegation? Doug and Wenda, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Our final delegation is Carolyn Butts, looking for council support for My Main Street Community Activation Fund application. Carolyn, how are you? Very well. So if you just press that silver button on the mic, Carolyn, it should light up red. There you go.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Butts. I'm here with Chantal Leblanc. And we are here tonight for some application support for an event that we are seeking funding for. The funding source is a FedDev initiative called My Main Street. I've been quite involved with the Main Street program now for 20 years, I guess, once TECDC was involved in applying for money for Stone Mills, Tamworth, especially. So do you have the event description that I sent in? Okay. So this is its working title is Earthwork, a material experience. And I've been involved in the community for more than 20 years. I run a business and I've been chair of the Boosters from 2006 to 10. I was the chair of the Heyday Committee and I've run a lot of events. And Tamworth currently is feeling, I guess, the woes of COVID and just a main street that just is non-budging in terms of activity and commercial activity. So I have recently met Chantal Leblanc. She is new to the area. I will let her speak about herself in a moment, but we have already engaged in running an event. I just can't seem to stop myself from having fun in this community, and I will not give up. So this event, however, is one that is the dearest to my heart. As you know, my work has been involved in recycling materials And this is a material experience, a single day that we are planning for August 31st. It's a family day. And what we would like to do, being artists, being First Nation, Métis, and local, committed local businesses, is we would like to connect visitors, local people to the land, uh, through the buildings that we live in, through the activities, business activities that we do, by engaging the local artisans and business owners already in Tamworth who do work with materials. We all work with materials of the land. We live in materials of the land. And we would like to have a day of experience, of hands-on education that will connect us back to that very notion, so that there is an element of understanding, appreciation, and respect that we would like to again bring back to our lives for all that we garner from this land. I'd like to introduce Chantal Leblanc to tell us about herself, to tell you about herself and where she's from and what she's doing in our community already.
Hi, thanks for having us. So yes, my name is Chantal Leblanc. I'm also an artist, sculptor. I've been working in the arts, organizing events and doing public art all my life. I recently moved in the area. I purchased the United Church in Roblin in order to create a space where we can celebrate the arts and well-being through visual arts and music and meditation and yoga and things like that for the community. So I have met Carolyn a few months ago, last summer, and we seem to work well together. We have a vision that is similar, and we'd like to collaborate on this project together. And we need some supports to apply.
Mhm.
Yes.
So what we are asking for tonight, what we need, we are planning to do all of the application writing, expectations, and what's the vision and budget. Because we don't have the business to apply, it does require a municipality or a county or a not-for-profit. You know the standard routine of these applications, especially for FedDev. So we need to come through you. We are asking for you to take what we provide you. We would need you to provide a balance sheet, an income statement, a cash flow statement. I can slow this down. A statement of retained earnings, and submit it. And I would assume, I think the process is you receive funds that then come to us to run it.
Yes, and we've done these sorts of things before with other applications, Carolyn, as I'm sure you know. What sort of deadline are you under at the moment?
March 31st, pretty tight.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would this involve in terms of logistics for the township? What would staff have to do? How soon would they have to do it? Is there some back and forth, or is it just one time and then away we go? What's
Well,
the steps?
I think it's a one-time. I've looked at the application and I believe that we can absolutely fill it out ourselves. And it's providing the financial. Do you have those statements, like balance sheet, income statement? Is that already, I guess it's for 2020, 2023. Do you have that? I don't know.
Well, that's a good question. Our treasurer isn't here this evening.
Okay.
But I'm sure we've got the templates from other times we've done this with the federal development people. So I'm assuming that staff know the routine or can figure it out from past applications. So what I would ask council is if you have any questions for the delegates, and if not, would you be willing to make a motion to act as the sort of the transit point or whatever you want to call it for this application so that we can expedite it before the end of March? Doug moves. Crystal Lee seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So what would you like, Brandy, in terms of contact with Carolyn and Chantel?
So was that a motion to receive the delegation and that staff work with the organization to submit? Okay.
That's all. So you'll be in touch.
Yep.
So you'll work.
I have her
with
email,
Brandy,
yeah.
our clerk,
Perfect.
And I hope everything goes smoothly. And
Thank you.
thanks for taking this initiative.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Brandy. I'll be in touch. Thanks.
Okay, our next item of business. Township Clerk Randy Teeple, Autism Ontario requests to participate in autism awareness. Can I get a motion on the floor that council receives the report for information, or the council support the request and direct staff to purchase a flag and have it raised on April 2nd for a 2-week period? Can I get that on the floor, please? Wenda and Rob, go ahead, Randy.
So staff were in receipt of a request from Autism Ontario. In reviewing the flag flying policy, council can, at their discretion, raise the flag for a 2-week period. The difference with this request was that we would have to purchase the flag in the amount of $25. So I did make reference to what was included in the council donation budget, which was $12,000 less $1,500 that's already been used for the year.
Discussion or? So you're willing to let the motion stand then? So all in favor? That's carried.
Was that to support?
Yes,
Okay.
that was your second option there, yeah. Okay, fees and charges bylaw. The recommendation is its report be received for information and that a public meeting be scheduled for 5:30 on the 15th of April in order to consider proposed increases to building permit fees pursuant to Section 7 of the Building Code Act, and that a notice of the public meeting with intent to pass an updated fees bylaw be posted on the website. Can I get a mover and seconder to get that on the floor? Wenda and Wendy. Go ahead, Brandy.
So nothing further to add to this report, just if there's any questions. There was reference to some policies and legislation that we do have to follow for timelines. So hence the reason for scheduling the public meeting.
Okay, so are there any questions or further discussion? So the motion stands. Yes, Rob?
Just a quick question in regards to my apologies. In regards to fence viewing, can I get a little clarification on what that is exactly?
It's not an artistic pursuit. Brandy, go ahead.
So under the Line Fences Act, if there is neighboring properties that cannot agree on the make, the boundary of, well, not necessarily the boundary, but the make of the fence, what should be used for the fence and who's paying for it, they can apply to the municipality to have fence viewers go in and determine how the cost is being split. If it's a matter of the boundary of the fence line, that would be up to a surveyor to conduct that. But the municipality does have the authority under the Line Fences Act to charge fees to recuperate the cost for the fence viewing, which can be quite costly of a process.
And in all my time on council, I can't remember a single incident of having a fence viewer. I bet you can.
Yeah. Mr. Clancy was fence viewer for years, he has, and fence viewers before him was Mr. Grass from Enterprise. I can remember a few occasions where he had act.
Yeah, it's
It usually involves farmers and non-farmers who have bought farm property and don't want to keep their fences up.
yeah, but it's been a long time since we had to deal with one. Mover was Wenda and seconder was Rob. Yeah, Wenda, go ahead.
A question about a new one. which is a death registration, death within the municipality and death outside a municipality. Sorry, I don't understand this one. I assume when somebody dies, somebody tells the township. But I'm not even sure who does that. Is it the funeral home that takes that over, or the, whoever, the cremation milestones, they would contact you and then they would pay that fee and pass that back on to the, is that how that works?
Yes, through Reeve-Wise, that's correct. Funeral home, a death has to be registered with a municipality. So it doesn't necessarily have to be registered in the municipality where the death occurred. But if they are registering the death where, in the municipality where the death occurred, you would typically charge a fee for it. Or if they're registering a death that happened outside of the municipality, you would charge a bit of a higher fee, because then you have to send notification to the municipality where the person who deceased lived. So there is a bit of paperwork with it. And then when you do receive death registrations, the municipality has an obligation to send those to the ministry.
Okay, thank you.
So, and just to add to that, looking in our records, we used to do death registrations in our municipality. We do have one local funeral home. That practice looks like it ceased to exist around 2016, 2017. So I have reached out to, I believe it's Hannah Funeral Home, to see if it's a service that they'd be interested in utilizing. Otherwise, they have to go to Loyalist Township or Greater Napanee to register a death.
Okay, anything further? Rob, go ahead.
And one other thing I had a note of here, that's great, by the way. Thanks for that information. Learning a lot today. And this might be for Chief Thompson. The fee for responding to a fire is based on a new response rate from November 1st, 23. I just was curious, just for information purposes, for knowledge, is how that's structured, and like, does it actually cover our costs? Is it a small fraction of what we usually incur? And if it isn't paid, can we put against taxes, that sort of thing? I'm just curious.
Yeah, through you, Reeve-Wise. That new fee structure was based on the MTO rate that MTO sets out, I think every year, maybe every other year. It's more of a rate for responding to the 401 or an MTO road, a provincial road. So we just followed the MTO rate for our rates. It's changed a bit, but yeah, that's how we come up with that rate. And then I think they go by inflation too, so they increase by inflation every year. And
Anything
as
further?
far as billing, we do invoice for that. Yeah, invoice directly. And we've never had an issue with anyone not paying.
Okay, anything further? We have a motion on the floor. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, item 8.4.1, replacement of unit 1921 with an electric vehicle. The recommendation, the council receive the report entitled Replacement of Unit 1921 with an electric vehicle, and the council approve the purchase of a fully electric vehicle to replace Unit 1921. Can I get a mover and seconder to put this on the floor? Wendy and Crystal Lee, thank you. So who's going to speak to this?
I'm going to speak to the first portion, and then Jake has a section that they.
Okay, Nate
Yeah.
Maliska, if you go ahead.
So in early November, we experienced an engine failure in one of our F-150s, and it's currently, since that time, it's been in Kingston at Petrie Ford, awaiting the repair. And we haven't had a timeline when the parts will actually arrive. We finally received the timeline about 2 to 3 weeks ago, and it's August of 2024 when we can expect to see the components to be able to repair it. So I guess during budget time, there was some discussion around maybe electrifying one of our vehicles in the fleet. And we saw this as an opportunity to seek pricing on that. And that's what this entire report sort of speaks to. Does come at quite a cost to do so. Not just the vehicle itself, but some infrastructure that needs to take place, some installations that need to happen in the roads garage, as well as viability, whether this is something that we could actually use within the fleet. And so through some discussions with Jeff and myself, we sought to get the extended battery, which is takes it to 500 kilometers of range. So that does accelerate the cost. I believe it's $16,000 additionally on top of, well, that cost is built in there, but that is an additional cost to the base price of the vehicle. That is what you have there. But the reason these two reports are kind of compiled is so that you could have an overview of since 2021, we've had two Kia Niros that the building department has utilized, and that's kind of speaks to the expense and how it's been used. So to kind of speak to the same thing, that we think in the roads fleet, it would actually be something that we could explore and utilize.
Jake, you're going to pick up the ball now?
Yes, through you, Reeve Wise. The second part of this report was written by me actually quite a long time ago. Just in the past few months, it had appeared to us that this report that Nate just wrote may be coming to fruition at some point. So at that time, my report was just kind of shelved, and with the thought that it would be brought forward whenever this proposal that Nate is bringing to you today came forward. And my part of the report is just basically looking back at kind of the bright spot, I guess, of owning an electric vehicle is looking at adding the costs and maintenance and the much lower maintenance costs that you can experience with these vehicles moving forward. This kind of report's coming at you at a time when, I guess, fortunately or unfortunately, no matter how you look at it, it looks like there is a pretty significant carbon increase tax about to happen, despite a lot of premiers not wanting that. So anyways, I'm happy to go over the numbers of the parts of the report that I wrote in terms of the annual costs to owning an electric vehicle. Certainly the electric vehicle that Nate is gearing you guys up to buy is one that I do have experience with too, in the sense that it seems to me from reading the report that it's my personal vehicle with a bigger battery. And generally speaking, I can tell you that 31 kilowatts is per hour. Kilowatt hours is kind of what it's kind of averaging in terms of its use per 100 kilometers. I can just point that you know I've actually am accumulating a lot of electric vehicle hours driving, and I can say that the headaches with traveling with them are real. There's a lot of things that need changed in that industry in terms of downloading 46 different apps and giving them money. But these vehicles generally, as a fleet vehicle that wouldn't leave the township, is kind of where they would shine. Just as a person who's been driving them now for a few years. So happy to take questions. I think Nate's happy to take questions. I think this is a report aimed at you know, maybe generating some questions and answering, and let's see how this proceeds, I guess. So.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions for Nate or Jake at this point? Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, I really enjoyed reading all of this. This is really in depth. You both did a lot of work on this. There's a lot of numbers. There's a lot of real numbers, because it's a big decision. This was not something anybody expected. We were going to have to take a 2019 vehicle with a $178 on it and basically almost dispose of it. So it's, I don't have any issues with the electrical part. In matter of fact, you make a great point, Jake. Range anxiety isn't as much of an issue when it stays within the township. Finding charging stations isn't as much of an issue when it's charged at home. It does serve that purpose better. One of the things I'm looking at here, and I'm hoping you're gonna deal with it, is that on a 93,000, well, the total overall true cost of ownership for this truck is 93K. But at 88.2 for the truck, and I get it, this is preliminary, but $1,000 discount from the dealer represents a little over 1% discount on almost $100,000 purchase. Seems a little light. Also, it's a 2023, so it's last year's model, which means you think they would be encouraged to make it go away. So something we should look into. $8,500 trade, that truck with a working engine is retailable with 30K. So it seems crazy that even if it doesn't
Yep,
have an
the
engine.
cost of the repair was 14. So if you, they're in the ballpark, it is a little low. Absolutely. Yeah.
25 to 30.
And this was the quote was based on a conversationally, just kind of bring it forward and we didn't,
No,
there's no one saying, yes, go ahead. So
no, of
generally,
course.
yeah.
And that's where I want to bring, before it does get to that point, I thought, those are the things that concern me for the sake of the ratepayer. If we're already telling them $25,000 more is going to be the total overhead versus a gas vehicle, then if they make us a little better deal, or we can find a better deal on the electric one, well, that makes it even more feasible and a possibility. So those are the things that came up to me looking through this. But you're right, if we're going to try an electric vehicle in that fleet, it seems like a genuine possibility this might be the one.
There is an option to downgrade the battery as well. Like because 500 kilometers of range is the upgraded battery, and Jake would have to speak of this specifically. I believe it's about 350 with the base battery. Is that what you have in your personal?
Through your worship, yeah. So I would, and I've encouraged the public works staff based on the fact that this would be a lot of persons driving this vehicle's first experience with this vehicle. That my vehicle is sort of the super cheap version that, you know, if you buy it, it'll be something where every roads employee driving it will say, wow, it's just, you know, it would be nice to have a couple hundred kilometers. They'll say that every time they get into it. And I just think that if you're giving a lot of people their first experience an electric vehicle, I just highly recommend they don't buy the one that I drive back and forth to work every day. That's just my personal opinion on this. So.
Yeah, we've had that conversation before that there might be a little regret there on your end when it comes to the battery size, that's all. And also I know that this vehicle is likely going to do some towing. So if it's doing some harder work, then that range is going to drop. And that seemed logical. What is the cost difference between the extra range? I think it's 5K, is that right?
16,000 for the extra.
I'm a
extra
little
range.
light on that.
Yeah, so the base vehicle price is 69,000 for a base vehicle.
Interesting. I wasn't aware of that number.
It is quite high.
Yeah, I know this is an emergency purchase, so we can possibly pass around the usual, tendership and so on. Based on that, is there an option of, I see that there's 500 engines waiting to be put in these vehicles.
Yeah,
so-
sorry, 500 on back orders.
Yeah,
So,
back order.
yeah.
What that indicates to me in my automotive experience is that this may be prone to recall somewhere in the near future or class action. So I'm just thinking to myself, if we can get that home and sit on it for 2 months and find out Ford's going to replace it and no charge, would be to our advantage, wouldn't it not?
Could be that is a risk that's whatever direction that you choose to take. That's absolutely the one we would.
Seems to make sense. And then can we farm this out to other Ford dealerships in the area and see who can throw us the best possible deal? Should we go that route?
We absolutely could explore that opportunity. It just happens to be that the vehicle is there and their used car department assessed it and gave us their assessed value. That's why because it was already there for the repair.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the reason that dealership was chosen, not for any other reason other than that's where we received that vehicle. We took it back for warranty. The warranty had expired, so that's why it's kind of landed there, so to speak.
No problem. I kind of figured that if it's there with no engine, it's kind of hard to go shopping, isn't it? But you can push it around Kingston. But I got to making myself that just based on this, I wanted to make sure that I can tell it's very preliminary, but your numbers are impressive. I'm keeping an open mind about everything, and you've got me sold on this being a really good possibility. It's just make sure we're looking after the ratepayers is always my number one concern.
Okay. Yes, Wendy, go ahead.
Hi. I was doing some research as well, and I see with both our federal and our provincial government, they do provide grants. The grant person here, they can provide up to $5,000 for a vehicle, and they will also provide around $7,000 for the charger. Thank you. And the other thing is Hydro One also provides a rebate for municipalities and homes that have chargers, and you can apparently apply to get rebates. I understand we have some chargers in some of the hamlets. I don't know if we can go to Hydro to say we get a rebate for those chargers. I don't know how that might work, but those are a few options if we're gonna go with an electric vehicle. Maybe let's see what our governments have. I don't know how fast the turnaround is or what the deadlines are or if they're open, but it might be something to look into.
Thanks, Wendy. Anyone else? Yes, Doug, go ahead.
Yeah, Rob kind of stole my thunder. I was gonna talk about the same thing. We have to do the best job we can for the public, okay? And if they just see us sole sourcing something, there's gonna raise a lot of red flags. So I realize that Ford is the only one right now that's making a model that's available. I did some checking today. Dodge doesn't make anything, and GM says they're making something, but they won't tell you when it's going to be available. So I guess it's not there. So, but I think at the very least, and we do have a process where we can do, it's not a tender, but it's a quote, a request for quotes that we could go out and give a few days. They've had this truck kicking around since 23. I really don't think it's going to go tomorrow. Okay. And on it. So, and I'm like Rob, I don't think they've discounted enough. Even on the gas vehicles, they're discounting up to $10,000 for 23. So I think they've seen a willing buyer here and said, we'll optimize this case. I think we should take at least the rest of the week and go out to within a reasonable range of Ford dealers, Belleville around within, 150 miles, and see if they don't have one, can they get one that's comparable to this? And that way we'll know that we got the best price. It's been competitively priced. That's what I would like to see. Other than that, I'm in favor of trying it. Yep.
Anyone else? Nate, do you want to
So
respond?
I do have a
Yeah.
question. If you would like me to explore that, would you like me to, in the quote as well, add in a trade-in, or where are we with the other? That's okay. With the opportunity to trade as well as, okay.
Okay, anything further? Anyone? Well, I'm glad the engine failed in the old truck because it gives us a chance to try an electric truck. Oh, with that sugar and the gas tank, yeah. They call it, green activism. I mean, doing right by the ratepayers means a lot of different things. We've got purchasing policy to always consider the environment and so on in all our policies, procedures, and purchases. I don't know what the specific language is, but this would certainly be a case where that would come into the decision. The long-term ownership costs are what offset the upfront higher capital cost, if we can believe the projections of people who study these things. So, I mean, at the worst, it seems to come out about even if you keep the vehicle long enough. On the other hand, a lot of these vehicles are still in the early stage of development, and we don't know really how long the batteries are going to last under real-world conditions. But I think it's up to public institutions to take the lead where possible and find out. It's not a massive risk. We're either buying this electric truck or we're buying another gas or diesel truck for 15 or 20,000 less, and then we're putting emissions into the atmosphere and creating the kind of global chaos that's starting to become more and more apparent every day. So I think serving the ratepayers includes that larger concern for the entire planet, in fact. And that's not a grandiose statement. That's a fact that we live with every day. So I'm very much in favor of it. What I'd like to get from Rob or Doug, who have been thinking in practical terms about the negotiations here, is a motion incorporating the concerns that you have and how you would like staff to approach the purchase.
I would move that we competitively bid this by phone over the next, and I'm going to say this week period, And also, just, we should look into the grant process that Wendy found.
Do you have anything to add to that, or?
No, I think that makes total sense. The other thing too is just for the sake of Petrie's, I don't want to demonize them. They were the ones that are willing to give us something to start with. Anybody can beat a price that they have in front of them, right? It was preliminary. I want to make that very clear, and I want to make sure they're included in all of this. They may sharpen the pencil quite quickly after this.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The other thing too is in regards to your statement about the longevity of the batteries, the current vehicle has 187,000 kilometers. It's 4 years old. The one with 178, pardon me. So 178, 4 years old. So in my opinion, as much as I don't believe the batteries in this truck will be worth much in 10 years, it's not going to make 10 years. So based on the use of the previous vehicle, the predecessor, it makes total sense that we're not going to have to deal with a vehicle that has 60,000 kilometers and the batteries are no good and it's worthless. That's not going to be the case. We're going to use it up to most of its life. That's why I see it.
It does have a
logically.
96-month warranty and 160,000 kilometers. Obviously, we'll breach that in 4 years, but we will be covered if we use it in the same fashion that we did previously. Whether that is the way it's dispatched to be used or however it is being used, we may actually have warranty for at least 8 years. So.
Even the function of the vehicle with the frunk in the front, I could see that for the utility purpose of it, that'd be very valuable for the purpose of the vehicle's service. Right?
It is worth noting that this thing will be parked inside every night. Mine's parked outside every night right now, which actually is not good for hydro consumption because there's actually something inside that battery that's keeping it nice and toasty while it's parked outside. And it says every night when I go to park it in my house, please plug me in. It's really cold out. So, I think that would actually increase the battery longevity as well, being as how it's in a climate controlled environment every night. So.
Okay, anything further? Yes, go ahead, Randy.
Just so I can have clarity on the motion on the floor. So we do have a motion on the floor by Councillor McDonald and Councillor Woodcock that council received the report entitled Replacement of Unit 1921 with Electric Vehicle, and that council approved the purchase of a fully electric vehicle to replace Unit 1921. We do have a request from Deputy Reeve Davison to request quotes by phone to local Ford dealerships in the area this week. Is that considered a friendly amendment by the mover and seconder? And to look into the grants? Okay.
Yeah,
And
let's
is
make it all one. Is that okay
okay.
with you guys? Yeah.
And is council providing authority to make a purchase on the lowest bid?
Or best bid as judged by staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll request like an email record just to have a record, not just by phone, like in
Yeah.
a conversation area. of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, make it,
Give them time to get you a deal.
yeah.
And get back to you.
And maybe build into that you'd like to have one free and clear of trade, straight purchase versus the trade. Yeah, it's nice to know. You never know if they need the other one.
They may have to go to Western Ontario to get it. Yeah.
Yeah,
The vehicle we were quoted is on the lot in Petrie as well. So that was the one he quoted us on.
okay, we've got all the details there. You okay, Brandy? Yeah, all in favor? That's carried. Yeah, thank you. I will just say the province has no grant for electric vehicles. They withdrew that when the new government came into place. The only one available is a $5,000 federal grant, and I would expect that quote has included that already. And I don't know about the chargers. Maybe that's just for municipalities, but I couldn't get a grant for a charger at home. But they'll find out when they check it out. Okay. Moving on, items for consideration, 10.1, MPP Rick Brzee, request for support regarding mobile medical clinic. The recommendation that council receive the communication received by MPP Brzee for information, or the council directs staff to draft a letter of support to be signed by the Reeve. Can I get that on the floor, please? Wenda and Krista Lee. Any discussion? Yeah, Wendy, go ahead.
I just found the letter very vague for us to give support. Is this mobile medical clinic LNA or is it Hastings or is like where is it going to be? Like not that I don't support it. I don't care where it is. I think it's a wonderful thing, but for us to write a letter, there should be some kind of relationship for us to be able to speak to it.
So I received the letter maybe at the same time as staff or maybe beforehand. It was a good month ago. And I wrote back with just that idea, said, what is the actual proposal? And the response I got from Rick's office was, they can't make a proposal that's legally or whatever the parliamentary rules are. They're looking for a support for a concept for our area. They didn't specify whether it was the county, the township, the region. I suspect they're talking about the riding, but they can't even say that. So what they're looking for support for is for the concept of a mobile medical clinic in our area. We aren't really committing to anything. It's even less than we're offering to Carolyn and Chantel in terms of practical help. It's support for an idea. Just write a letter saying, we think this is a great idea. Good luck with it. Kind of let us know what happens. Anyone else? Yeah, I think we got a mover and seconder already. Thanks, Doug.
Sorry, that's to support
Yes.
and to prepare a letter.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. All in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you. And a donation request from Friends of the Salmon River. Council budgeted $12,000 for donations, and to date has approved $1,500 in donations, less $25, I guess, because we're buying an autism flag. So this is, I'm sure you've all read the letter. We've supported Friends of Salmon River before, so this is a request, I believe, for $500. I haven't looked at the letter in the last couple of hours. Can I get this one on the floor? Wenda and Doug, any discussion? So that's a motion to support the request then? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And another request for donation from Hollow Square Market for a donation for the Canine Water Sports event. Similar information. And Brandy, how much are they looking for? I haven't checked this one. Is it? I think it's whatever we can give them, is it not? They haven't listed a specific amount. They've listed what the prizes are, running from $2,500 to Top Dog, down to $100 for on-site advertising with logo, raffle prizes, and so on. In any case, can I get a motion to get this on the floor for discussion? Wenda and Wendy, what are your thoughts? Yeah, go ahead, Doug.
This is a little different than normally our donations go to nonprofit organizations, especially sports clubs, things like that. This is a little bit different. It's the SPCA, which I think we all probably support the benefit of the dogs. That's where the events are going. But for me, I'm not sure that I want to put a large amount of money into this. I'd be willing to go maybe $100 or $150, something like that.
Any further discussion? Rob, go ahead.
I agree with Doug. I think it's fascinating. I was reading it and I thought, this sounds like a lot of fun. I'd like to go. But on the other hand, you can eliminate quite a few of the top prizes. I mean, if you think about how much money we have for the whole year and we're only just through the first quarter, it would be difficult to do much more than what Doug mentioned. I was thinking the same. I was thinking the $100, and maybe if we could do the other 50 as maybe a raffle prize or something like that, we could pick something up or whatever to kind of go with the bottom two and show our support. I think it's great. It's going to happen in the township, but the money raised is going to leave the township directly. Well, I think we all benefit from LNA SPCA, but I just think that's where we should be at. I agree with Doug.
Okay, so can I get a specific motion then with a specific amount?
I'll move $150.
Okay.
Sorry, we had a mover and seconder to get it on the floor. So if the Councillor Lalonde wants to make a motion, how it's received, and then if the Councillor McDonald seconds that, then we'll go with that.
Okay, everyone clear?
Sorry, can I get clarity?
Yep.
So $100?
I'll go with the 150 that Doug recommended.
150?
Yeah.
Feeling like an auctioneer again here. Sold $150. All in favor? That's That's carried. Thank you. It does sound like a fun event, seeing the dogs go through all this.
Sounds to me from the looks of those prizes, there's a pretty big entry fee.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a fundraiser.
Yep.
Okay, and items for information, 11.1, notice of public consultation, reconstruction of Peel Street, Addington Street, and Mill Pond Drive in the village of Tamworth. The recommendation is that the notice of public consultation be received for information. Can I get a mover and seconder for that, please? Crystal Lee and Rob, any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. New business and statements from members. Anyone want to bring something forward? When to go ahead?
Yeah, I'd like to go back, if I could, to the agenda item that Mr. Nathan Bruce brought up regarding his suggestion to provide some limited winter maintenance to for 14 A to Z. We received the report and I thought the presentation was given, but we didn't really discuss his suggestions. And I wondered if we could have some discussion on that now.
Yes, I suppose. Well, you could have done that at the time.
I could have, but I just wanted to receive the report and move on. But as we moved on, I thought, you know what, we should have been discussing what he asked. And I didn't know if there was more conversation, more background, like, you know, Mr. Thompson is very aware of that road and what are his thoughts on that? And, you know, what kind of limited, would it be every snowstorm or every other snowstorm or only snowstorms that accumulate 10 centimeters and that kind of thing. And I just thought there needed to be more discussion based on his presentation. So.
Sure. Yeah, and I have no objection, Wenda. Just give me a hard time. So what specifically would you like to bring forward and maybe have Jeff comment on?
Okay.
Or would you like a report from staff on the concept of creating a class 6 road and what the parameters would be? Or what are you suggesting?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking at. Is a little. I hate having my back to you when I'm talking about you.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, the class 6 road intrigued me because I wasn't too aware of what that was all about. So that was a very good discussion and presentation. And I thought I am very on board with the fact that we are opening up some of these roads. People build there knowing that they're seasonally maintained and limited, whatever. And I get that. I really do get that. But we have had some interest in looking at providing some limited maintenance to that road. And I just wondered what your thoughts were, really, before I would even entertain a motion.
Well, thank you. Through you, Revise. Yeah, we can report back and give, what a class 6 would be and what the minimum maintenance standards level would be on a class 6. We can kind of create our own policy around that. There will be some capital cost improvements to get it to a state where we actually can go in and whether it's the turnaround area, whether it's some widening out so we can actually meet another vehicle coming in and out. Like Mr. Bruce alluded to, it is a one-way in and it's 2.5, maybe 3 kilometers long. You'd hate to have someone back up or one of our vehicles have to back up. So if we had some, bypasses, 2 or 3 of them on the way through would help for, the maintenance in the wintertime. Right now, the summer maintenance is very minimal for us. We grade it 3 or 4 times a year, add a few loads of stone in some of the low spots, and that's about all we've done in the last 2 or 3 years. We haven't trimmed much brush yet, but that's coming. We got the new machine. We'll just go in and clear cut. But it's council's wishes if they want to. And going forward, I don't know what it looks like as far as the planning with Mr. Sands being away. What's that open up for, future development? If we take it on as a class 6 and maintain, are we going to have, another 5 homes or 6 homes in that area, which at that point would increase the maintenance level. Maybe not from a class 6, but the expectations from new people building new homes they're going to want it plowed a little more regularly. Right now, we have California Road, I believe, is our only road that's a class 6 where we might plow it, 2 days after the storm. The last 2 years, we do have a full-time resident in there now, which, you've received some calls on that. But other than that, and then we have another one off Norway Lake that we do the same kind of maintenance. We plow it 2 or 3 days after the storm, depending on the snow depth. So it's not out of the question, but there's a lot of things that come with it. The development one is my thing. If we end up with a lot more development in there, is going to increase what we have to do.
Wendy, go ahead.
So how do you use a snowplow to go in there, and how do you get out? How do you turn around?
Through you, Revise, there is a pretty decent turnaround at where we maintain it to now, although it's in someone's driveway. But it's set back, and it's a decent turnaround for us. But in plowing it with a tandem, we wouldn't be able to plow with a tandem. We'd have to use a loader. We don't have a 1-ton with a plow on it, but we'd have to use our loader that does the village streets and stuff like that. California Road, we go through with the loader, just because a tandem can't make it.
Yeah, go ahead, Wendy.
It is a township road that we used to keep up, like it's always been a township.
Are you talking about the Dewey Road, Christian Lane, or are you talking about California Road?
The Dewey, I
Okay,
think.
yeah.
So Dewey Road, it was always, it's a road allowance, and it was always an unmaintained until I believe it was 2018, because we have spent public funds in there after the fire 2001. It was on council resolution to go in and do some work. And I think maybe 2020, there was a request to do some work in there again. 19, maybe? Yeah. So once we've put public funds into it and we've talked to our solicitor, we automatically have to carry through that maintenance that we've provided, which was gravel and grading, especially after the fire. So that's why we made it seasonally maintained, because that's the only level of maintenance that we have completed on that road. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Anyone else?
We need a report.
Make the motion.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we task staff to come back with a report on for 14 A to Z Road for exploring the possibility of limited winter maintenance. Does that sound?
Second.
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay, see, okay, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and you're seconding that, Doug?
Yep.
Any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, we still got openings here for new business. Thank you, Jeff. And statements from members. Anyone got anything else? Yes, Rob, go ahead.
Just a quick thing here. So I was successful in partnering with the Alzheimer's Society to do, as I spoke about prior, and there'll be 3 different dates that have been set. We will be broadcasting that in the near future on the social media and website, as we agreed to when I brought it up before. I've got some flyers. If you don't mind, everybody in the room, anybody who wants one, then to my limit of how many I have, I guess. If you can take them back to your community and pin them up somewhere, would be nice. And share it when you see it on social. I think it's a really great thing for our community, and the folks at KFL&A, Alzheimer's Society, are quite excited to be approached and to be brought into the community to do their good work. So Wednesday, March 27th, Wednesday, June 26th, and Wednesday, November 27th will be the dates. And I just think it's wonderful. And Tim Hortons Napanee has stepped up to donate Timbits and coffee for everybody to be happy and full of sugar. So I just think it's really gonna be fun. And I just think it's just super that we can get these people out, because with our demographic, as we know, this is a big thing. It affects a lot of really great people in the township. And some people just have questions and they just don't know where to go. So let's sing.
So for the benefit of people here who aren't sure what you're speaking of, what will take place on these evenings, Rob?
Yeah, so what's going to happen is I'll use Wednesday, March 27th at 1:30 p.m. The first session. It's taking place at the Friends Meeting House in Moscow, which is across from the United Church. They've been generous enough to donate the venue for that. That was their suggestion. And that should target that part of the township, including Yarker. And you come in and have coffee, tea, and some Timbits. Sit down, and Lorraine Ross from the Alzheimer's Society, KFLNA, will come and do a presentation, a question and answer period, answer questions about services that are out there, what to watch out for, how to cope with it, and the general challenges of dealing with yourself or friends or relatives that have dementia or Alzheimer's. And it's just a really great time for people to get together and, in their comfort zone, in their community, ask about these things that are difficult to deal with. There'll be 2 other sessions where we staggered them out. So March 27th, then June 26th, the sun will be up longer. We know people don't like driving at night sometimes, so that will be at 7 p.m. at the Stone Mills Rec Center in the multi-purpose room. And then we get to November 27th. These are all Wednesdays. At 1:30, we're back to darkness in the evening, and that's in Newburgh Hall at 1:30 p.m. So 1:30, 7 o'clock, 1:30 throughout the year. Just watch for it on the site, and I'll try to get this out there more often as we go along, closer to the dates. But yeah, it's going to be a really great thing. Next year might only be once for the year, but to get things started, I thought let's really hit it hard.
Good, thanks, Rob. Thanks for that initiative. Anyone else have anything for? Yes, Doug.
Yeah, and on Saturday, I had the opportunity to attend the big breakfast in Enterprise at the hall. Had an excellent breakfast. They did an amazing job putting what they put on. I mean, if you were hungry, you weren't when you left, to be quite honest with you. It was pancakes, scrambled eggs, sausages, bacon, toast, different apple chutney and berry sauce for the pancakes, coffee, juice, good orange juice, not tang. You know, it was a well put on presentation. Although the reason I mention it is we've all received some communication on the hall. And I did have a question, a concern. They had all of the tables out on the main dance floor, or a number of tables out on the main dance floor. And I wondered why that happens. And that's something I think maybe we, in our report that is forthcoming, should address. We have an area that was specifically built in the 1990s to accommodate tables off of that floor to protect that hardwood floor. Dragging tables across it and food being spilled on it and that sort of stuff. I'd just be a little bit, no matter how careful you are, it can happen. I think we should consider, making a statement that for the use of all users of the hall, that the food should be stayed in the side area where it's they're specifically set up with tile floor and everything, and that way the tables don't have to be dragged either. So other than that, it was a good. I recommend it to anybody to go to it. It was a good deal. So good breakfast.
Thanks, Doug. Anyone else? Rob, go ahead.
I'm glad you bring that up, Doug. I can speak to that as well. Again, really glad to see the community getting together, and I know the money raised goes to different various charities they've chosen and so on. But it is concerning that I know that the tile floor was originally, if that's the whole purpose, was built. It was built there in 91 by a lot of volunteer efforts and a lot of money raised so that 100-year-old original floor could be preserved for generations to come. And it's not, I know that there's a photo in the hall of the tables and chairs set up for a wedding. But if you look at that photo, and I've got a lot of experience with this building, they're set up lengthwise and not the other way. And the reason that is because it was a wedding and there were speeches on the stage. And with the pillars from the eating area being in the road, every so often there's kind of an exemption made for that because it's only once a year, maybe once every 2 years. But when you have an event that happens every couple of weeks on a very frequent basis, then the facility suffers for the function. And I don't think that's I don't think the ratepayers want to spend $10,000, $20,000 or $30,000 repairing the floor when we spend 100 years protecting it from that exact issue. So again, it's difficult because you see what they're doing and you're so happy that money's going to the right place. You don't want to be the naysayer, but we have to think about the cost and those that came before us and have protected that sort of thing. and it doesn't need to happen, like there's no really reason why other than preference, that's why we have procedures and policies.
Wendy, go ahead.
So I'm just, correct me if I'm wrong, did we task staff with looking at a policy exploring certain restriction limitations or whatever to various halls? And if we did, then we're waiting for the report on that, right? And I think, was flooring included on that, the hardwood flooring at that hall? Maybe it should be.
Kitchen and.
Yeah, maybe the utilization of the floor service should be part of that report. To
I'm
see
sure
if
Jake is aware of all these issues in that facility and what's being asked and more. Yeah, so we'll be hearing his take on that at a future meeting. Anyone else? Yes, Wenda.
So, Councillor Fenwick reminded me of something I should be bringing up, but unfortunately it's on the same date as the one that's happening with the Alzheimer's Association. So on March 27th, there is going to be a panel discussion for anybody who wants to come and listen on exploring opportunities and challenges for leadership in vulnerable populations. So there's going to be a representative there from Anguanata, from Morningstar Mission, and from the Napanee Interval House. And they'll also be looking at homeless issues, Indigenous issues, women's issues, and they'll be discussing the opportunities and the challenges within our region with vulnerable populations. So that will be the Newburgh United Church at 7 p.m. on the 27th of March.
It doesn't conflict because yours is at 1 o'clock in the afternoon,
Oh,
right?
perfect,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it would be great if we coordinate, I'll watch for that
Mhm.
and do them both. Like I'll try to broadcast that together because that would be a wonderful thing that they
Perfect.
could do them both.
Good. Anyone else? I have one thing that I've been meaning to bring up for some time and should have written it down, and tonight I remembered. And Jeff, it's in regard to all the ash trees that are dying along our roadsides from the emerald ash borer. I know along my neighbor's property line and mine, and I think they're on township property, and we got a lot of dead trees, and what your thoughts are about the potential for damage, limbs, trees falling on roads, and any proactive steps you've been thinking about.
Yeah, through you. That's a great question. It's been probably a year and a half, maybe two, that we've noticed a lot of the ash borer, especially on the county road allowance as well. Right now, there's no funding with the ministry or MNRF. It's just basically if someone calls and we determine it's going to be a safety issue and coming down. I mean, there's still, it takes 3 or 4 years from the rot to get weak enough and come down, but we've been proactive. We cut a bunch on 41 highway for the county just before the MTO yard. There was probably 30 there that had died. And we're trying to do some on our side roads as we're have a brushing program, which actually was a really good year. We didn't have much for winter. We've got a lot of trees cut and a lot of brush cut.
Oh, you just got your eye on it, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, if residents phone and they are worried about it, we get on the list and schedule. A lot of them we can cut ourselves, but a lot of them might be in hydro, and then that takes
Yeah.
costs. Last year we kind of went over budget in our tree removal outsider costs, but it is what it is. We had to do it. You know?
Yeah, we got to do it. I know on the way to Tamworth, there's quite a number of,
Yeah.
1 to 1.5 foot diameter ones.
Yeah.
There's a few along Centerville Road that aren't so big, but you're right. It's going to be 3 years from now when the ones that died in the last couple of years start to get to the point where a windstorm might push them over or whatever. And then it has potential for accidents, really.
Yeah.
So that issue is out there. It's too bad. Remember after the ice storm in 98, there was a big tree replant program. We mostly planted ash. There's 2 on Goods next to me, nice 20-year-old ash trees, and they're going to come down eventually too. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up so you're well aware of it. I'm not surprised. Okay, thanks, Jeff. So if there's nothing further, we've reached the end of our meeting. We have no closed meeting this evening. So I need a confirming bylaw. Doug and Wenda, all in favor? That's carried. And a motion to adjourn, please, from Wendy and Krista Lee. All in favor? Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for coming.